Hello, everyone. This is Michael Wagner, co-founder and CEO of Star Atlas, and this is 26 Questions with Michael.
Hi, Michael. Thank you so much for fitting our 26 questions interview into your busy schedule.
It's great to be here. I understand we need to keep these questions brief, so I will do my best to get through all 26 with you all.
Cool. Let's dive straight in. Is Star Atlas applicable on Android?
Well, so it's an interesting question. We are developing out to a AAA quality gaming standard and developing the primary product in Unreal Engine. So we're mostly targeting the PC consumer as well as potentially exploring console. However, we will have multiple applications that are accessible by the user. And so that includes our initial product that we're rolling out, which is an in-browser minigame experience. But I would say in the future, you can look for a mobile application to come from us, or alternatively, as technology develops around streaming gaming services like Stadia, you can potentially access Star Atlas on your Android device.
How many people are involved in this project?
It's a great question. So currently, I would look back at some of the growth over the year. We started the year in January of 2021 with 4 people. We currently have around 120 people that are working on the project in some capacity. So we've seen some pretty incredible growth just over the past 8.5 months. But given some of our recent successes, we are looking at growing that team to over 300 people within the next 8 to 12 months.
Will your project later be developed on all blockchains that have examples such as BSC and Kiko?
We are focused on developing the game logic on Solana exclusively. So the gameplay will exist on Solana. However, there are a lot of additional layer 1 protocols as well as tertiary projects that are developing out bridge technology. So outside of the gameplay itself, if you'd like to trade or interact with some of the NFTs that we issue, it's very likely that in the future you'll be able to do so on not only Ethereum, but BSC, on Terra, and potentially additional blockchains in the future.
Is the minigame going to be an actual small piece of the final game? What can we expect from the minigame and when will it be released?
Yeah, the minigame is really intended to encompass a lot of the same gameplay mechanics that we will be building for the core Star Atlas experience in Unreal Engine. So that includes things like space exploration, territory control, political domination. And so we have a roadmap that goes through the remainder of 2021 and into the early parts of 2022 that include things like ship missions. So taking not only a single asset, but actually a fleet of your ships, deploying them into space, completing missions, and earning things like Atlas, commodities, or additional NFTs for the completion of those missions. That leads into the next phase, which would be land development. So you'll be able to place mining and farming equipment on land and produce ore or produce materials that are a component of the broader supply chain. And then also leading into orbital space station development, where you will be able to expand upon a space station, develop out platforms, and create resources that are available not only for you as the individual player, but assets that you can actually lease out and generate revenue from by allowing access to other players within the ecosystem.
Most of the questions people had asked during AMA are about strengths of the project. So at this time, can we talk about your difficulties and challenges? What difficulties did you face developing your project and how did you overcome them?
Well, it's still very early stages for us. So I guess what I would point to the most is that building on Solana, we are still operating with beta technology, beta software itself. So the protocol is still in its earliest stages of development. As a result of that, it has led to some friction in the user onboarding process. our team is quite capable and competent at resolving those issues. So I feel good about where we are today and our ability to kind of evolve and improve upon that process over time. But outside of, say networking issues across Solana, just educating people on the inroads or the access points to Solana itself has been another hurdle or obstacle that we've had to overcome. And so we actually foresee into, the kind of the distant future, education is going to be a major requirement for us, because we're targeting not only people that are fluent in cryptocurrency and operating across the blockchain, but really the mainstream gamer, and then also a global audience of potential users, because we see enormous potential in being able to deliver this product to countries that are, say, developing nations, where we can deliver a higher standard of living through this play to earn and play to own model than they would be able to encounter by working a job in the local economy. And so we understand that educating people on the use of cryptocurrency and the value and the ethos of the ecosystem is very, very important for us. And for us, resolving that is really just making sure that the information is available and that we are always active across the community to respond to questions as they come in.
Do you have a white paper? If yes, please share it with us. And secondly, do you have plans for pre-sale? Where can I join it?
We do have a white paper. You can find that at staratlas.com. I would also encourage everybody to read through our game economics and tokenomic white paper, which describes in greater detail how value accrues across the both of the tokens, as well as how players are able to earn income through the gameplay mechanics over time. In terms of early access, we don't have any early access at this time. Essentially, as we roll products out across the market, which will be, it's available at play.staratlas.com. That is our NFT marketplace that we created, and it was amongst the first, if not the first, on the Solana blockchain. But that is where you'll find all of our asset sales, as well as the ability to trade and transact with other players.
How can a game not be a pay-to-win model where whales buy expensive assets and earn the most? How does the little guy earn a meaningful income? This game sounds like real life, where the rich wins and everyone else loses.
Yeah, so we create some balance across the economy just in the method that we use to distribute rewards to players. Now, it's not necessarily pay to win, simply because everybody has an equal opportunity to generate revenue to themselves based on kind of the economic value of the assets that they own. Now, that does lead to greater income accruing to people with larger assets, but one of the areas that we're focused on the most and where we think would benefit the players the most is in our guild system, which we call decentralized autonomous corporations. And even though a lot of value will be centered around guilds, and they'll be able to acquire some of the best, biggest, most valuable assets, joining a guild will enable you as a player to be able to participate in the upside of that collective value creation.
I understand you can control an entire fleet in the mini game. My question is, when the 3D game launches, will we be able to send ships out to do tasks? For example, tell my data runner to gather information in a certain area, or do I have to control one ship at a time?
It's a great question. And I think some of the mechanics here still need to be worked out. Most likely you'll need to be monitoring your ship as it is deployed out into space. So it won't be purely automated. But with that said, you would be able to deploy multiple ships at the same time to go complete a mission, whether that's in the 3D world or if that's in our in-browser minigame experience. But there will require most likely a certain degree of oversight over all of your assets.
Is the future of Star Atlas in some way the true Ready Player One of our reality, where we can work, play, and make the most out of the ecosystem? Can a team of Star Atlas deal with a weight like that in development?
Well, we get that analogy a lot, Ready Player One. I mean, our goal and our vision is to deliver a future digital economy within which a player can persist. So in many ways, it is similar to what has been presented in Ready Player One. We do not aspire to the dystopian future that's represented in, say, the movie or potentially in the book. We'd like to, with that said, we'd really like to blur the line between physical reality and digital reality and provide people opportunities to improve and empower and better themselves through the economic potential of the metaverse overall. And that is true outside of all of the gameplay mechanics that we're introducing, but more founded on the economy itself and people's ability to create, innovate, become entrepreneurs, contribute value back to the metaverse, and in turn, extract their own unique method of deriving value from the metaverse itself. So this is very much in our thought. We're putting a tremendous amount of effort into the way that we design the economy. And it's truly one of the two core pillars of what we're focused on. So one being the gameplay experience, ensuring that it's fun, entertaining, enjoyable. But the secondary priority is making sure that the economy in the long term is self-sustainable.
I was wondering if you could expand upon the multiplayer aspect of the ship's missions minigame. Will the rewards be distributed according to asset strength, and will having a larger fleet lead to increased rewards in the overall mission?
So I want to say yes. We are really currently looking at a model that rewards a player based on economic value, and that's how we're able to keep rewards proportional. But a very important variable or factor to consider is the amount of time that a player is engaged in the environment or the universe, if you will. And so even if somebody has a ship that is 10 times more powerful, if the individual player is engaged in 10 times more gameplay, they can neutralize the advantage that larger ship would have. Now, that's not true of, say, direct PvP or player versus player combat, but for someone who is dedicated and spends more time in the metaverse, they'll be able to extract as a greater, not proportional, but nominal greater value from the universe itself.
Number 1, increasing token price. Number 2, making token valuable. Number 3, building community trust. From these 3 aspects mentioned, which one is the most important aspect for you? If all of the above are important, which one would you do first?
We don't have any involvement whatsoever in the token price now that the token is live and kind of out there in secondary markets. So what we're focused on is delivering the best gameplay experience possible and attracting and building the community. So increasing our user base and making sure that users have a voice in what ultimately gets developed as the Star Atlas experience. So we're very focused on community and we're very focused on listening to feedback, which actually ties directly into our governance token, which is POLIS. And through the mechanism of staking POLIS, owners, these stakeholders, will have the ability to influence in the long term what the future design, development, and experience related to Star Atlas actually is. And so that would include things like feature releases, asset release schedules, and even going as far as modifying economic terms across the metaverse itself. So we are heavily focused on the user experience, growing our user base, and ensuring that everybody's having a good time in Star Atlas.
What are the strategies followed by you for promoting the project so that it reaches everywhere? Are you planning to use more third-party platforms for effective promotion of the project other than the crowded platforms that you are utilizing at present?
We have a very sophisticated go-to-market strategy, and we're kind of thinking of this in multiple phases. Now, the initial phase is really intended to target people across the crypto community who understand how to use things like MetaMask or a Phantom wallet, which is an in-browser plugin wallet. People who are sophisticated and understand the functionality of cryptocurrency. With that being said, we've really rapidly outgrown the crypto community, and we've started to garner the attention of the mainstream gaming community. So that was intended to be a later marketing cycle for us, where we start to grow that user base as we continue to refine and deliver greater functionality and features within Star Atlas. But we do have advertising campaigns, marketing campaigns, as well as partnerships and strategic business development that would lead to greater adoption across the game. But ultimately, what we see here is a sandbox or a toolbox, if you will, for innovators and pioneers to leverage the Star Atlas metaverse to create value for themselves. And we think that alone is going to add a tremendous amount of user growth and value, because it's less about even the gameplay experience as it is about the ability to interact with an environment that empowers the individual. And so going into the future, we think that this dynamic model is what's going to lead to the greatest user growth of people all over the world outside of our core demographics.
Is it possible to reduce the supply rate of Star Atlas coins? What benefits does the Star Atlas token bring to the community? What is the basis for believing that the Star Atlas token is an asset to invest in the future?
You know, again, we don't think about it as an investment. We think about Star Atlas as a token as a requirement to participate in the Star Atlas economy, in the Star Atlas metaverse. So all of the emissions, which are modifiable, the DAO through POLIS will actually, in the future, determine emission rates of Atlas over time to players. But with that said, in order to operate within the game, Atlas will be a requirement. So all of your income is denominated in Atlas. But if you think about operating costs of any entrepreneur, like land value tax, which must be paid, or repairing a ship, refueling a ship, purchasing consumables, any expense within the game is denominated in Atlas. And as such, it will be a requirement for all players to ensure that they're at least retaining or saving some Atlas so that they can succeed in the long term.
What is your plan to increase mass adoption of the game?
So I would kind of default back to one of the earlier questions, but we think that a very fun gameplay experience, first and foremost, is going to attract a lot of users. When you think about the game, that is kind of our spearhead. That's our entry point into the community. And we've already seen massive growth over the course of this year. We're currently sitting at something like 70,000 users in Discord, 115,000 followers on Twitter, 40,000 people on Telegram that are following us. And we feel like this is very much just the beginning. Once we start to introduce the true play to earn economic model and people discover how this can improve their lives, we believe that we will be able to target not only a gaming community, but a global audience of participants who see this as a way to create a new lifestyle for themselves.
What's coming up in the next quarter for Star Atlas?
It's a very big quarter for us. What we're really focused on is the development of two products concurrently. And so referring back to our roadmap, we'll be releasing features in the minigame that allow people to access and start to earn off of the game. That also includes the governance protocol, which is based on POLIS staking. So POLIS staking will be coming online. Players will be able to earn POLIS through staking and participating in governance. They'll also be able to introduce proposals and vote on proposals introduced by other community members on the future direction of the game. But outside of that, our core development is focused on the minigame experience, which is web browser based. And as I said, the features will be rolling out through the remainder of this year, going into next year. So that's ship missions, land development, and orbital space station development. But at the same time, we're also currently building in Unreal Engine, and we anticipate having our initial module available for the public as a game client that would include a showroom experience. And so people will be able to enter this 3D space, interact with other players, configure a ship and purchase those ships, as well as deploy those on various missions and start to participate in things like land development within the 3D game environment.
Transparency and traceability are the core values of a project. Can you share some details about the transparency of your project? How can we be sure that you are not like other scam projects?
Well, I mean, we're very communicative first and foremost. Just by way of example, we host a town hall almost every week. And the town hall is in our Discord, which is discord.gg/staratlas. Myself, as well as some of the other co-founders, are always on stage. Not only are we giving product updates to the community about our current progress, but we're also there to respond to questions. It's a live Q&A, and we bring people up on stage regularly to ask any question they'd like. So we're always available, we're always answering. And I suppose beyond that, I'm a multi-time founder within the crypto space. I've been operating in crypto since 2013. I've never hidden my identity or my location. Everybody on the team is listed on our team page at staratlas.com/team. And so we're very open. And again, we talk about things like finances and our revenue and product roadmaps. And even being here on this AMA, for example, is to me is just one demonstration of how we're open to discussing our current progress with the community and what our intentions are.
First, I have to say that this game will be the wow of the NFT market. Will you have it available globally? What type of fees will it be for, say, owners of Meta posters to buy and sell NFTs?
Well, thank you for that. I hope that we'll be better than WoW going into the future, especially using Unreal Engine for development. Unreal Engine is going to deliver a cinematic quality gaming experience. And so, in many cases, if you have the computing hardware necessary, this will feel like you're really living in the future, in space, in the Star Atlas metaverse. So, I think we have a lot of potential there. In terms of costs, we have ships that start at $15. And we have ships that go all the way up to $10 million plus. We follow a similar model on land, and we really have a unique take on land ownership that we'll be discussing more in the coming weeks. But the idea for us is to be very inclusive to everyone. There's an opportunity for everyone to participate and to start to build wealth, and then coupling that with our DeFi mechanics, the potential to compound wealth within the digital currency ecosystem. That's very important to us. But on the far end of the spectrum is providing availability and accessibility to large groups of players who want to purchase those more expensive assets and work more strategically and collaboratively to operate within Star Atlas.
In the GAO, you have different types of ships, like the BYOS type. But I'm curious, what does the acronym ECOS stands for?
Yeah, it's such a great question. I actually don't have the answer to that one. So Danny Floyd is our Chief Product Officer. My focus is on economics and finance and kind of the tokenomic modeling. Danny Floyd is really the mastermind behind the game, the gameplay pillars, the gameplay mechanics, as well as the creative team that's creating all of those beautiful assets that you see released regularly. So I feel a little bit caught off guard. I do not know offhand what the ECOS stands for, but I will tell you that the intent of that class of ship is to be eco-friendly and ensure that the universe is focused on sustainability.
Where can I buy your tokens now? What are your current contracts, and how can I buy them, and what are the benefits?
I would just point everyone to either CoinMarketCap or CoinGecko. There's a number of exchanges that are coming online, as well as decentralized exchanges. Probably the biggest exchange to date is FTX, but Radium is a decentralized exchange protocol on Solana that a lot of people are using as well. And there's quite a substantial amount of liquidity already in the market. So just check us on CoinGecko or CoinMarketCap, and you'll see all of the markets where we're currently available.
Okay, last question. What is your 2022 roadmap?
Well, by the beginning of 2022, we should have a fairly refined minigame experience that is ready to play by everyone around the world. Now, that is the in-browser experience. Of course, we'll be offering enhancements and some feature releases to the minigame over the course of 2022, but the majority of our focus at that point will really be on Unreal Engine development. So focused on this 3D, fully immersive world where players can start to socialize, participate in governance, participate in experiences that are unrelated to the game itself. That would include going into an art gallery and maybe purchasing some NFT art from a custom curator, as well as things like music festivals or concerts or other forms of experience where people can just engage in social interaction. And of course, ensuring that we're delivering more on the actual gameplay mechanics themselves where people are able to earn. But 2022 should be a fun year. We'll see a lot more coming out from the full production of the game. And I can tell you we're very excited about all of these releases.
Thank you so much for answering 20 questions from the community. Now it's your turn to ask our fans 6 questions. Do you have the 6 questions ready?
Well, it was absolutely my pleasure, and I do indeed have the 6 questions here.
All right, so let's get it started.
Yeah, so question number 1 is, what do people need to do to join Star Atlas? And a follow-up to that is, what is the minimum purchase price of a ship to start in Star Atlas? Question number 2 is, what is the best advice you could give to someone interested in Star Atlas? Question number 3 is, what are the advantages of having the in-game assets that are currently available in the Star Atlas DEX or decentralized exchange? Question number 4 is, why did we choose Solana as a partner, and why is it important? And question number 5 is, when do we expect the minigame to be fully released? And finally, what are the best social media outlets so you can learn more about Star Atlas and participate in our community?
Awesome session. Thank you for the questions. We hope you guys liked the interview session with Michael. For fans whose questions are selected, please claim your rewards as per the instructions in the description box below. And for those who want to participate and win USDT, simply answer the 6 questions that Michael had asked, comment your answers in the comment section below, and we will pick 6 lucky winners. Thank you so much for coming on to our show, Michael. Till the next time, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to our channel. Bye!
Bye. Thanks so much.